as we get ready here for Kevin Jones and John Morawski. For Jones, a repeat trip to the Players' Championship, and he's making the most of it here, off to a great start. And for Morawski, his first time here, a player who did a lot of work on the IQs, does have a couple Open Series top 8s. And we'll be underway here in just a moment. Morawski on your left, Jones on your right. The green light has been given. And remember, players are working with perfect information on deck lists. So if Kevin does nothing on turn 1, it leads me to believe there might be a chalice on turn 2.
I think that he has to mulligan for while he's on the play. He needs to have a Force of Will, he needs to have a Chalice of the Void, or he needs to have a Zumazawa's Jitte. Any one of those cards makes the hand very solid, but a curve of random 2 and 3 mana creatures will not cut it in this matchup.
Merfolk just cleans up on that. They don't care. Or excuse me, Elves just cleans up on that. They don't care. Here's an Elf Sentinel from Morawski. We're going to head back Jones' way now. Cavernous Souls. And there is the Chalice on 1. You had a feeling it was coming.
And you kept a hand without Vial, without anything to do on the first turn.
Yeah.
So.
No Curse Catcher, no Vial. Can you beat this? Any outs in the deck here from Morawski?
I do not believe he can remove it from the board in game 1. There's no Stray, Reclamation Sage type of creature in the list. But he does have Green Sun Zenith. He has Elvish Visionary, and he can build up towards a hardcast Craterhoof Behemoth.
Okay.
It is unlikely, but not impossible.
There's a Heritage Druid. Yep. Now, I like the mini sub-game with Chalice, which is you better remember all your Chalice triggers.
All right. That Heritage Druid is not doing anything else this game. Might as well give it a shot.
And Jones down to 18. Now, the one thing that Heritage Druid actually does get to do, that's a small thing, but it does get to untap Nettle Sentinel.
Yeah.
Not a minor thing.
But beating 2/2s is something that Merfolk's very well equipped to do.
Well, I would hope so. Here's a Silvergill Adept. Time to reveal. Reveal a Curse Catcher. You saw the Cavern name Merfolk. That's why Jones is able to cast that. Curse Catcher, well, that's going to be countered from your own Chalice.
Yeah, some slightly awkward tapping there. Sometimes you see Chalice of the Void and Merfolk lists alongside Cavernous Souls, so you can still cast your Curse Catcher through the Cavern. A little bit of a misstep there by Jones, who could have tapped the Island in the Wasteland for the Silvergill Adept, and then...
Yeah, and then you see the way he's just reorganized his land, said, I did that backwards.
The upshot here for Jones is he has a lot of margin for error in this game. It's going to be tough for Morawski to get much going.
Kevin is certainly in a good spot, and I believe he might even have the Jitte in hand right now as well.
Sure.
And if that's the case, this could just be a walk away. From Morawski, he'll search up a Dryad Arbor. We'll head back his way, force the draw step. So he does have a copy of Natural Order in hand.
But with Chalice on 1, without access to Wirewood Symbiote, he has no workarounds for Jitte. If it connects once, that's probably the game.
There's a forest. Oh yeah,
Nice.
give me a morph. We call that Plan B.
Well, Birchlore Rangers is a source of mana.
Yep.
And Morawski's probably going to have to generate a lot of mana to be able to win the game, either with Natural Order plus a bunch of stuff in play for Craterhoof Behemoth, or just hard casting it.
Jones is going to go to Lord Atlantis. That'll make the fishies a little bit bigger. Silvergill Adept looking to swim in the red zone. It'll be a 3/2 as it attacks. And that 3 damage will be dealt. What's interesting here is I think how Kevin is going to use his Wasteland. You know, is he going to use it on Dryad Arbor? Is he going to use it on Bio? Is he going to use it at all because he's trying to work his way towards Zumazawa's Jitte plus equip in one turn?
So Jones has a Force of Will in hand, which means he can answer a Craterhoof Behemoth or a Natural Order. He can answer a big play. Jones really wants to get to 4 mana because he can put Jitte on a creature, probably win the game on the spot if that happens. So I think what he wants to do with his Wasteland is just save it as mana number 4. In the event that Morawski makes a large play, especially one powered by Gaia's Cradle, maybe you'll see him make a move on the Wasteland to get rid of that. But for the time being, Morawski isn't really threatening anything major because Jones has the Force of Will in hand, and Jones's mana is a lot more valuable to him than denying Morawski his mana. And I like Morawski not blocking last turn. He kind of has to ignore Jones for the rest of the game. Too much of his deck is shut off in the face of Chalice of the Void for him to be trading at all. He's just got to build up a board and hope that he can power through.
Oh, here's Green Sun Zenith. Is it possible Kevin pulls the trigger with Force of Will here? It looks like he will. He'll take 1 to counter that powerful green card. So down goes the Zenith.
With Force of Will in hand there, Jones obviously had a Force of Will, just cast 1. I don't think I would have picked a battle over Green Sun Zenith.
Yeah.
If I'm in Jones's spot, all I'm fighting over is Critterhoof Behemoth or Natural Order, assuming that sooner or later I'm going to get Jitte into play, and that's going to wipe up the rest of it.
Jones will draw. Silvergill Adept. Umezawa's Jitte in hand. And he might be going towards Phantasmal Image here. He'll go towards the Jitte. Remember, 1 of it in his main deck this weekend. And now he's going to Wasteland, take care of the Dryad Arbor.
And trying to put Morawski on kill me or bust.
Yep.
You have 1 turn to do it. He could have tried to do everything in 1 turn by Phantasmal Image on my Silvergill Adept and try to find land number 4 and do everything in 1 turn. But Jones now, especially with the Force of Will on the Green Sun Zenith last turn, is daring Morawski to win the game this turn. Otherwise, Morawski won't be able to get back in.
There's a Dryad Arbor. And can Morawski do it? He'll draw a card here. Glimpse of Nature? Not you. You don't help. That Cradle does, though. Well, will he go towards Craterhoof this turn? Because I don't think Craterhoof will be lethal this turn.
So he has to sacrifice a creature.
Mm-hmm.
That puts him down to 2 creatures in play, then Critterhoof Behemoth comes into play. So 3 times 3 is 9. Plus the power that's in play, he is short.
Yep, there's Cradle. Now here's Natural Order. That'll resolve.
Well, hold up. He's got 9 off the trigger, and then 9 in play. So this is 18 coming across, so Jones at least has to block something.
It's quite a big hit. And it is all trample damage, too.
Jones may have to double block here to get the Craterhoof off the table. Oh, no, he can't even do that.
He can't do that.
The hoof's way too big.
Yeah.
But he can put a block in front of one of the 2/2s, because those are only 5/5s right now.
Correct.
So he can double block and get him off the table.
He has to lose his entire board to do that. I don't know if that's a game-winning play.
Yeah, but the alternative is chump, put Jitte on something, and still die on the crackback.
I don't like the alternative.
And this is why, if I was Jones, I would not have fought over the Green Sun Zenith a couple turns ago. Because I think this is Morawski's only path to win, and it looks like he might be able to steal this one here.
Well, there's your double block.
And I like Morawski trying to play the Wirewood Symbiote before combat.
Oh,
because
of course.
If Jones misses the trigger, it's lethal.
Yeah. Jones is going to fall down quite a bit here. He's going to fall down to 3. Kevin will draw. Can he get back in this game somehow? There's an island. Phantasmal Image might be a way to do it.
So Phantasmal Image, you copy the Crater Hoof Behemoth. You can trade off. Next turn you go to 1. You have a Silver Gill Adept in your hand. If you can cast it next turn or some other creature, you trade again, hope the Chalice locks out everything else, and you can try to stabilize.
Morawski will draw. Another Crater Hoof.
No good.
Nope. that's not it.
Come check back in about 8 turns. We can talk about that one.
Is Morawski going to be able to cross the finish line here?
Jones can't cast his follow-up right now.
Yeah.
Last card in hand is Silver Gill Adept. If he draws a land next turn, that morph is going to be good enough.
And there are a lot of misses in his deck right now.
Yes.
Force of Will, no good. Aether Vial, Chalice of the Void. There's a lot of bricks as Kevin falls down to 1. It's time for a top deck here for Kevin Jones. Let's see how he does. Draws a card. Didn't get a great look at it.
If it's a Merfolk or something castable, I think it's Misdirection.
Misdirection.
Wow.
John Morawski's going to win game number 1 here over Kevin Jones. Elves works its way through a turn 2 Chalice of the Void to take game number 1.
See, I knew I was savvy for picking Morawski.
Yeah, a true genius you are here in the booth. Unbelievable game win there for John Morawski. As we take a look here at the sideboards, we're going to start with Kevin Jones and his 2 Grafdigger's Cage, 2 Pith Needle, 2 Dismember, 3 Flusterstorm, another copy of Misdirection, 2 Submerge and Umezawa's Jite, and 2 Kira Great Glass Spinner. It seems like it gets even better here for Kevin.
So, still some good cards to bring in the sideboard here.
Yeah.
You have Grafdigger's Cage, which is excellent against a lot of Morawski's ways to cheat creatures into play. 2 Pithy Needles can come in, and as Elves has all sorts of creatures with activated powers. You can bring in the extra copy of Umezawa's Jite and the 2 Dismembers and 2 Submerges for good measure. Not getting any easier for Morawski.
For John Morawski, he's got a Null Rod, a Reclamation Sage, 4 copies of Abrupt Decay, 2 Gaddock Teagues, a Malira Sylvok Outcast, a Progenitus, 3 Cabal Therapies, and 2 Thoughtseize.
So Morawski needs to have the 4 copies of Abrupt Decay and the 1 Reclamation Sage to be able to battle over the artifacts, especially Umezawa's Jite and Chalice of the Void. I also think this is a great matchup for Progenitus. Jones's deck is a little bit on the slow side. It may be tough in the face of all this removal for Morawski to build up critical mass, and Progenitus, I think, is a great way to try to close out the game.
Well, there's the options there for both players, and we'll learn more about each of them here in just a moment. But we will talk about SCG Game Night right now, the very popular promotion where in December you can get the reindeer, and for 2016 we got some more cool stuff on the way.
You can head over to StarCityGames.com/Game Night for more information. Contact your Star City Games in-store play representative for more information as well. Every month, we generate new pins and tokens that we send to the stores that sign up for Game Night. Stores can then run Game Night any day of the week that they want. Just get players in the store for some fun and friendly magic. This is a December kit you're playing for right now. We have the next 2 kits announced. January, we have Grizzly Brand. And February, Magus of the Moo. So head over to StarCityGames.com/Game Night. Find the Game Night closest to you. If you're a store, you want to get this in your store, contact your Star City Games in-store play representative. And Canadian store owners, we've changed the shipping rates. We're now just charging U.S. domestic to send these kits to Canada. So if you have not signed up for Game Night in the past because of the shipping rates, contact your Star City Games in-store play representative.
Game number 2 about to be on the way here between John Morawski and Kevin Jones. A heck of a first start. And we learn more about Kevin Jones now. A player we saw at the Players' Championship last year, wanted to get back this year, and he certainly did it to the 28-year-old from Kingstown, New York, our Season 2 point champion. 8 Open Series top 8s, 1 victory for him. One I'll never forget where he really put Jeskai kind of on the map in Standard last year.
Yeah, he was way ahead of the curve for the build that he had at the Open in New Jersey to kick off Khans of Tarkir Standard, and has never really looked back. Loves playing with Mantis Rider and has played it for now over a year.
Yeah. We haven't seen him play in other formats, I don't think. I don't think he's dialed that one up in Modern just yet.
It's, Lightning Bolt's pretty popular. I don't know if it's the most Mantis Rider-friendly format, but hey, we're going to get to see in a round or 2.
We will. We will. And I've said a couple times here this weekend, but I really like Kevin's deck choice this weekend. That first game looks like it got away from him a little bit there in this matchup, but it's very clear what he's trying to beat coming in. And I think when you have a metagame of 16 players you can kind of put on decks, you build your deck a different kind of way than you normally would.
Absolutely. You aren't spending your sideboard slots on a one-of for this kind of fringe matchup. You're trying to do your best to predict what the field is going to look like and have loaded sideboards for it. And you can see Kevin's sideboard, he is definitely gunning for green decks. I mean, there's a lot of creature removal, 2 copies of Submerge, an extra copy of Umezawa's Jite. He's definitely being precise in the decks he's trying to attack.
The question is, with that force of will and the Green Sun Zenith, is what was he afraid of from Morawski's deck? I mean, Wire with Symbiote is a concern if you're playing GT.
I guess, but even then, over a long term, Morawski's deck just doesn't have a lot left in it. Maybe it had something to do with the Scavenging Ooze. He was worried that Scavenging Ooze would get large enough where he wouldn't be able to muster attacks with the Umezawa's Jitte. But like I said, if I was in Jones' spot, I would have let that go. That Force of Will would have only been for Crater Hoof, Behemoth, or Natural Order.
Looks like Morawski's going to very quickly take a mulligan. For Jones, he was in Group A, took down Rudy Briscoe, took down Jacob Wilson before losing to Brad Nelson last round. Nelson, of course, the defending champion here, looking to go back-to-back if he can. And it looks like his deck selection legacy, one that definitely took me by surprise, certainly worked. Death and Taxes.
Brad said they were working on that deck for about 3 weeks.
Jeez.
Told me yesterday they played in some Magic Online events, a daily, an 8-person event, good competition, went 8-0. Felt very good about their list.
Well, Morawski keeps 6 cards here. Well, that look doesn't really engender a lot of confidence. And the answer is no, so down to 5 he'll go.
Still got to feel optimistic about things if you're in Morawski's spot, given that Game 1 looked really bad.
I feel like I stole one.
Yep.
In Game 1. That's how I'd feel right now.
Worst case scenario, even if you lose this game on the back of your 5-card hand, you get another shot on the play with a lot of artifact removal in your deck to interact with Chalice of the Void and Umezawa's Jitte.
You can also just dump your hand before Chalice comes down as well.
Yeah.
I think there's a lot to like. If he isn't able to win this game, having Game 3 be on the play, I think there's a lot to like about that. But Game 2 is not over yet. Morawski going to keep. Looks like he'll scry the top card to the top, and we're underway here. And Jones will start off with an Aether Vial. Quarren Ranger, the draw here from Morawski. He'll play a Bayou, play that Ranger, pass the turn back.
And you see Natural Order in hand. Even on 5 cards, this can be a very fast win for Morawski if he's brought in the Progenitus, which I assume he has. Jones's deck does not interact with that card very well.
Submerge was the draw for Jones.
You know, because it has protection from everything.
Yeah.
Pretty hard to interact with.
That's the thing there. Quarren Ranger is going to bounce the Bayou.
With the Cavern play from last game, with that Wasteland, with the Force of Will, which is at least in questionable territory, this has not been the sharpest set of games thus far from Jones.
There's a Windswept Heath. A Vial going to go up to 2. Oh, there's a Chalice again. He'll play Cavern, and now there's Chalice on 1. Now, you mentioned Morawski does have a lot of ways to work himself through this after sideboard.
It's still a problematic card. He doesn't have all that much in the way of answers. Jones here trying to...
Just ready to submerge the heck out of that thing.
Which, Windswept Heath is not a forest.
Nope.
So...
But I have a feeling Morawski's going to search up a forest because he's a green deck.
Just Jones, again, a little ahead of himself here.
Yes. Could we see the no search?
He'll search. He's going to search.
Could we see the no search on the way? It'll be some type of forest, that's for sure. Basic forest. I mean, Kevin feels like he's priced in now to submerging.
Yeah, the hands tipped a little bit.
You think so? Maybe giving away a little information.
Yeah, you're probably not going to be able to trap him with it at this point.
So Quarren Ranger, that'll be the draw step for Morawski. And I think Kevin would like it that way anyway because he has a Chalice on 1. There's a Bayou, and here's an Elvish Visionary. That'll trigger. Draw a card. Vial looks like it's going to stay on 2. Chalice can't go up. And it looks like Vial was the draw. We're going to head back Morawski's way.
And the leftovers in Jones's hand are not great right now.
No. Force of Will. Looks like Phantasmal Image of Violin and Dismember. He's got some ways to interact. But he is certainly missing a clock, which Merfolk typically provides.
Question now is Morawski willing to attack? If Jones's hand is soft and all reactive, the points do matter. And Jones didn't violate anything last turn. But what's 1 point worth against potentially getting swallowed up in combat if Jones has drawn one of his 2-mana creatures or was just slow rolling one the previous turn?
And John's got another land to play here. He's got a couple of options as far as land's concerned. He's going to go with Cradle. And now Morph yet again. Old Birchlore.
And if Morawski is not attacking, to me this signifies that his plan this game is to go to Progenitus. Because he's not concerned about getting in a couple points of damage here or there at the risk of losing a creature inside of combat.
There's Silvergill Adept. That'll draw Jones a card. It's an island. Oh, Jones will pass the turn back over to Morawski. Morawski will draw a copy of Green Sun Zenith. And we saw him work his way through Chalice in the previous game. And his hand is allowing him to kind of do it again here. Remember, this is a mulligan of 5 from Morawski. And we were kind of talking about, well, at least in Game 3 he'll be on the play. He might not even need it third game.
I mean, Jones has also, with the Wasteland play that didn't really produce anything, and the fact that he's drawn another Aether Vial to pair with the Chalice that he has on one, Jones is on a mulligan of 5 of his own.
It's a Zenith. We saw Jones counter this last game.
I love this play here because I think Morawski has natural order in hand. If Jones was willing to Force of Will this the first time, he might be willing to do it the second time, and then the path could be open next turn for Progenitus.
Force of Will take care of that Zenith. And it could be what we saw just like in the previous game. Baiting Jones into countering the wrong cards to resolve the one that actually does matter in natural order.
Now that Zenith was for 3. Zenith for 3 can get Reclamation Sage, so that's a much more dangerous Zenith than the one we saw in the first game.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
And with Jones having very little going on, it's possible he feels like losing one of his artifacts right now, either the Vial or the Chalice, is more than he can overcome.
You're going to leave that Vial on 2. Jones will take a draw. Looks like he picked up a copy of Phantasmal Image. Looks like Silvergill. No, it's going to hang back. In a weird way, as Morawski's going to sacrifice this Misty Rainforest, Jones has actually kind of got Progenitus covered.
Yes, he does.
Now, here's Natural Order. And in a weird way, he's kind of got Craterhoof Behemoth covered. Because with the trigger on the stack, he can dismember it. So he would fall down to 14. You know, there's a couple of different things that can happen here, obviously. And we'll see what Morawski's going to search up first. And he's searching through his deck very fast. He's going to go with Craterhoof Behemoth. So with the trigger on the stack, Jones is going to activate his Vial. And he'll Vial in Phantasmal Image. That'll copy Craterhoof Behemoth. And now, if I'm Kevin, I love a Dismember here with this on the stack as well. That'll clean that out. It's a 5/5. Kevin will have to take 4 to cast it. Its converted mana cost is 3, so Chalice doesn't get in the way. And now I don't even think the attacks are okay at best.
It's still probably worth it to send in, because it's certainly not getting better next turn.
Sure.
Although it's only a pump for 3, and now Jones has a 5/5 facing down several 4/4s, so Jones gets 1 block on the house basically. Morawski may not be able to send in at this point.
And now we get back in the situation where Morawski has a lot of bad draws. He has 2 1-mana spells in his hand right now.
You can see the pressure that Chalice of the Void puts on Morawski. Both this game and the previous game, it looks like Morawski gets 1 good punch. He can set up 1 Natural Order or 1 Craterhoof Behemoth. But if that fails to work, he's got so many dead draws in the deck that it's hard for him to go for it a second time.
Yeah, I don't think that John can send in.
Yep.
I think he just has to pass the turn back and maybe try to reassemble.
He doesn't get Jones low enough or makes enough inroads on the board for an attack to be okay.
There's a Mutavault. Worth noting that the Phantasmal Image is a Craterhoof Behemoth, so it's a 5/5.
Just the biggest thing on the battlefield, too.
He could just start sending in with this right now, and I think that's what we're going to see him do. Get to work here. Morawski's going to take that 5 fall down to 12. Draw step for John. See the Nettle Sentinel, the Quirion Ranger in hand. Can't really cast those. Reclamation Sage, not a bad draw.
It's not bad. I don't know exactly how Morawski sideboarded, but if he Reclamation Sages the Chalice, he at least draws to Glimpse. Now, Glimpse might have been cut because of the Chalice of the Voids, and just because he's bringing in reactive cards, so he's losing critical mass on some of his creatures. But Reclamation Sage is a great draw.
He's going to use the Cradle to cast this. That'll come in. Yeah, Chalice down. No more of this. The follow-up looks like it's going to be the Ranger. And now Morawski's starting to build a board. And what gets really tough here for Jones is that, okay, the 5/5 is checked now, because Quirion Ranger can just pick up the Dryad Arbor anytime that thing attacks. And that means GT's checked as well. Mm-hmm. And so now things get really tough for Kevin. I think in this situation, Kevin's best draw just might be, and a smart play there by John, using Quirion Ranger to target the Phantasmal Image. Kevin's best draw might be True Nemesis into GT. I think we might be working ourselves into that kind of territory here.
And Morawski is entering a point now where he can just start sending in the 2-power creatures. I mean, it is a risk if the last card in Jones's hand is a Lord and the Mutavault gets to eat something, but you can at least test the waters when they attack here.
Well, I don't mind testing with a Morph.
Right.
There's an attack, there's a block. And if these kind of trades are going to be made, don't mind if it do.
Yeah, this is a great position for Morawski. And now he's drawing very live with the Chalice no longer in the deck. Or on the table, rather.
Jones's draw, we don't get a great look at it. Looks like he's just going to play another Vial. And simply pass the turn back with an active Mutavault and a Vial on 2. I think Kevin's in a lot of trouble here.
Well, with Green Sun Zenith, that's the pickup. It's gotten a lot worse.
Yeah, we could be going to wire with Symbiote territory now. John's counting the amount of mana he has access to. This could get really ugly.
Yeah, he just might be counting for a second Craterhoof.
Yeah. Cradle will tap for 4. Nettle Sentinel is a freebie if he wants to start there, or free-ish.
Gets a free land drop for it, too.
Yeah, I think he might just be going for broke, like you mentioned. There's Zenith. Yeah, this Zenith is for 8. And there's Craterhoof Behemoth. And that's going to do it. Jonathan Morawski's going to win this match here over Kevin Jones. 2-0. Elves will take care of Merfolk. Jones had Chalice of the Void both games, drew a Submerge, found GTA Game 1. Morawski was able to overcome it all. And you know what? You predicted it.
And on 5 cards. You just don't have the margin for error in a tournament like this, and particularly this round, where the difference between the two groups is substantial for what the trajectory of the rest of your tournament looks like. And I think that Jones, I was not a fan of the line that he took game number 1. It's defensible, not what I would have done, but there was definitely just some technical and mechanical errors that got made, particularly in that second game, that gave Morawski a lot of wiggle room to maximize his 5-card hand.
Yeah, with Morawski being able